Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a review of the IEW writing program. Now, a couple weeks ago I did a review for their Fix It grammar program, and I had several requests for a review of their writing, and we do use that, so I wanted to show it to you guys. For those of you who are new, IEW stands for Institute for Excellence in Writing, and I really do love this program. Like about 10 years ago when I was first starting to put my feelers out for homeschooling and see what things were about, I heard moms talking about this program, and honestly it was kind of intimidating to me. A lot of what they said was, oh, parents have to take like this really long course to learn how to teach it, and it just seemed really complicated and overwhelming. So I kind of took it off the shelf, put it on my back burner, and didn't think about it again until a few years ago when my son was actually starting to have some issues with his writing. Now, we were previously doing BJU English, and that does include a writing section in it. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with BJU, they do one chapter of grammar stuff, and then one chapter of writing, and then one chapter of grammar, and they kind of alternate throughout the year. So they do have writing in there, but what I was finding was that it wasn't enough of a direction for my son. Now, my daughter, who loves to write, and she just writes for fun and comes up with stories all the time, and she journals, it was working okay for her. But for my son, who really just hated writing, he couldn't think of what to write about, he didn't know how to write, formulate a proper paragraph, things like that. It just wasn't really in-depth enough, and it just wasn't working for him. He hated writing, and I was getting paragraphs like, I like frogs, frogs are green, frogs eat flies, frogs like to hop, and that was like his story. And it was really hard for me as a mom to figure out how to explain to him that he needed to elaborate a little bit more on his stories, make them more interesting, form a proper paragraph with like a topic sentence and things like that. And I think that while the BJU writing is there, I don't think it was really specific enough for him, and it didn't have enough direction for me to be able to kind of explain to him how to write in proper paragraph format and that kind of thing. So I had several people again recommend this IEW program for me. Again, it's Institute for Excellence in Writing, and the ages of the programs are on their website, so they have different programs based on the ages of your kids, so you'll want to check that out. Back when we started, my kids were around 3rd to 5th grade, and so they do have a writing program for that age, and it's called the Level A Student Writing Intensive. So that is where I started. Now in just a little bit I'll go over to their website and kind of show you what you need to order, because it can be kind of confusing. Now I do want to say also that the products from IEW Writing at least can be kind of expensive, because you're paying for, essentially you get DVDs, DVDs, and you watch the DVD, and then he kind of really guides the lessons for you, which I find is really nice. But because they're DVDs, I think they're a little bit more on the pricey side. So I believe that the Level A, let me look at my computer really quick here, the Level A Student Writing Intensive is about $100, I think, and you get the teacher's manual plus the DVDs. So what I did was I just went online, and you can even post this in my community. We have a buy-sell trade section, and see if anybody has any that they'd be willing to sell for you used. So I've always purchased my DVDs, and usually it comes with the teacher's manual used, and then you can go online to get the student materials, and you can buy it in printed format. I think it's $19, or you can do a download for $10. And that's what I did. I just paid $10, got the download, and then I printed all of the copies off for my own kids, and then I just kind of hand out the worksheets as we go. So that's a little bit less expensive of a way to do it if you can find it used. You can look on eBay, Homeschool Classifieds, and again, like I said, you can also post it on my website in the buy-sell trade section. So that would be my first advice on this curriculum. It can be a little pricey, so I would suggest trying to find it used if you can. So we started out with the Level A program, and we used that, and then we moved on to the Level A continuation, and that's what you'll want to do if you end up continuing to use the program. Whatever level you start with, A, B, or C, the next year you'll get the continuation, and the continuation really does assume that you have done the first year, and so you kind of know all the formatting and how to do it. And so I think if you tried to start off with continuation, that you would be having a difficult time figuring out what it is you're supposed to do, and your kids probably wouldn't understand all of the things that they need to add. So I want to show you what the curriculum kind of looks like, because for me as a mom, Grading writing can be really difficult, and they make it really easy. They give you a checklist, and they give your student a checklist, and so all you have to do is just make sure that all of the things that they asked for in their paragraphs are there, and it tells you to give them points if they're there. You don't give them points if they're not there, and it makes it really, really easy. It also makes it really easy for struggling writers, I think, because especially for my son, he, like I said, wasn't quite sure what to write about or what to put in or how to formulate a paragraph and that kind of thing, and it really lays it all out for them. So all they really have to do is kind of follow a checklist. Now, it's a little bit different of a program in the sense that when you start off with, like for level A, for example, you're not actually writing your own stories. You're actually editing a story that someone else has written, and that is similar to their Fix-It grammar, which I really like because it kind of took the pressure off my son to come up with, you know, a story kind of just out of the blue. Instead, he took somebody else's story, and they have you pull keywords out of those sentences, and I'll kind of show you that in just a second. And then you write those keywords down in like an outline format on your own piece of paper, and then you put that story away, and then you go and rewrite the story using the keywords that you pulled out. And I think that that was really helpful for him because he was no longer struggling with coming up with topics or not knowing what to say or not knowing what order to put things in. And just practicing rewriting other stories that have already been written was actually very, very helpful for him. And they did do that for quite a while, and then they move into taking your kids to the library and letting them find a book that interests them, and then they can do the same kind of situation where they take 3 paragraphs from that book about whatever topic they've chosen, they pull out keywords from all the sentences, and then they put it into an outline, and then they rewrite those sentences on their own. And I think that was actually a really big turning point for my son especially. It definitely helped my daughter, who loves to write. It just helped really improve her writing process, and I will show you the checklist in just a minute as well, which helps improve their word usage, their vocabulary, makes them really think outside the box to make their stories more interesting. And so I just really like how it's kind of laid out, and I like I said, that it took the pressure off my son to come up with his own stories. He was now sort of regurgitating other material, but it was teaching him how, you know, a proper paragraph should sound. Like, you know, what are some of the things you include, and what are some more exciting words I can use. And so let's take a little bit closer look inside what it actually looks like so you can sort of see it up close, and then I'll describe a little bit more of how the teaching process goes. So hopefully you're not intimidated by it, because it's actually a really great program. It's super easy. I do want to mention that I did not do, there is a course called, I believe, I'm looking on their website really quick here, it's called Teaching, Writing, Structure, and Style, and that's actually for you if you want. You can purchase a DVD. It is semi-expensive, so I think it was meant for teachers in schools. It's $189, it looks like, for the DVD session, $129 I think if you do a streaming with a binder. So it is kind of pricey, so I didn't want to do that. I also honestly just didn't want to take the time to do it, and most of my friends who were using it said that they skipped that section, and instead they just watched the videos with their kids, and then they have been fine with teaching the program. So that's what I've been doing. I think it works great. We all sit down, we watch the video, the lesson plans tell you exactly where to start, where to stop, and then, you know, what to do as you go on forward. And I just watch it with them, and then it's really easy for me to then go on and sort of facilitate them doing the writing themselves. So I did skip that program for those of you who are thinking, you know, oh, we have to also do this and pay for more. And I do think they would like you to take that, but I think you can get, you know, away without having to go through that program yourself, as long as you're sitting and watching the videos along with your kids, because he essentially teaches the lesson to them and you kind of at the same time, and then you just go on forward to do, you know, the writing project with them, and then he also provides grading sheets for you, and you just have to check off whether or not they have their specific items included. So it's really easy. So I just wanted to throw that out there first. So let's take a look. I'm going to show you the level A first, what the workbooks look like, and then I'll show you the continuation so you can kind of see the difference between the two. If you have older kids, you would start with level B or C depending on what grade levels they are. I believe it's the same type of content for all 3 levels if I'm not mistaken. It's just, I think that the writing is a little bit more advanced as you get into the higher grades, but they're still learning the same concepts and how to build paragraphs and all of that. So let's take a closer look inside and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so like I mentioned, I did purchase the online teacher's manual, and I found the DVDs used. So what the DVDs used look like, and there's not that many of them, but there is a tips and tricks one to kind of help you get started. And then there's also some just more information. These I believe are, yes, these are the lesson plans and the student handouts, so you can print off of the CD if you would like. And then there's also the DVDs, and they're all labeled, and it will tell you in the teacher's manual which CD or which DVD to watch and when. And so this particular one is my continuation course, and there are, it looks like 9 DVDs in here. And so you just pull out whichever one it tells you, and then there's also timestamps on the instructions, and it tells you, you know, where to start and where to stop your DVDs. So I just printed out my teacher's manual and then stuck it in this binder. And then of course it has a little bit of an introduction information. It also has kind of a scope and sequence, so you can kind of see like an overview of what you're going to be working on all year. And now for this one, for both of them, I actually spread out the lessons. So instead of doing it every single day, we did writing a couple times a week. And I'll show you how I kind of do that once we get into it a little bit more. But you can stretch one of these years out over the course of 2 years if you would like to. And that also kind of makes it a little bit more affordable. You certainly don't have to do it every day. And then back through here, they start having, here's your scope and sequence, and it kind of tells you lesson 1, here's the disc you need. Lesson 2, you don't need a disc. Here's, you know, kind of the topics that you're going to be covering. Here's any resources that you need, and that kind of, and any references that you need. So it kind of outlines it all for you, which makes it really nice and easy. And it also kind of helps you see how many lessons there are if, for example, you want to stretch it out, you know, longer, or do it, you know, only a couple times a week versus every day, or however you want to do it. I think this program is really, really flexible, and you can kind of just make it work for you. Now I'll try and do a close-up of this. This is lesson 1, and here's your teacher's notes, and then this kind of just tells you about the lesson, and really what this does is kind of explains the lesson to you. However, if you're watching the DVD, this is all included in the DVD. So this is kind of just what your kids would be watching if you didn't sit and do the lesson. Although I highly suggest that you do watch the DVD with them, because if they have any questions or anything like that, it makes it a lot easier for you to answer. Anything in this, like these boxes right here, are things that he is writing on his whiteboard. So if you would like to teach them yourself instead of watching the DVD, you could even do that and just read through the lesson, and then you would write this up on the whiteboard as you're teaching through the program. So that's kind of nice. Over here it tells you what disc you would need and stop and start points as you go, and it kind of tells you, you know, pause here and do this, continue watching, whatever. So they really outline it really well. They kind of make it fairly easy, I think, for you to do. All right, so here's a little bit closer look at the lesson, and it's going to tell you to watch Disc 1 of the Student Writing Intensive and then stop at the writing pause. And how he kind of works it out is he gives your student this handout. And so as you see here, there's sea snakes, and then there's some just some keywords written next to them. Your student will get this handout right here. So it's a story that's already written. This is lesson 1 of level A, so it's just one paragraph. It's not too intimidating. And he actually walks them through, and your students will do this as the video is playing, but he walks them through and shows them how to pull keywords out of each sentence and then write the outline from that. So for example, the first sentence is: the most poisonous snake in the world is not the coral snake or the death adder, it is the sea snake. All right, so from that sentence, he has the kids, and he kind of teaches it in a classroom, so I usually pause the video and let my kids come up with what keywords they think, but he has the ones that he pulls out in the video. So the words he pulled out were most poisonous in the world, and so those are just the words that he pulled out of that. Then he goes through the next sentence: marine scientists estimate the venom of a sea snake is 50 times more powerful than that of a king cobra. And then over here, they pulled out scientists, venom, 50 times, and cobra. And what he instructs your children to do is to pull out 3 to 4 keywords per sentence out of this entire story. So this is already written for them. They don't have to, you know, come up with a topic or anything. Really what they're going to do is take the keywords out of each sentence, write them down on their own like little outline like this. Then they're going to get rid of the story, and they're going to turn around and rewrite the story using their keywords that they pulled out. So their story will be slightly different than the other story that they just read. In the beginning, this is, like I said, this is lesson 1, so this is very easy. He also gives them a composition checklist, and they have to make sure that these certain things are done. So they're doing a paragraph on sea snakes. It's due whenever you decide it's due. They need to check and make sure that they double space their writing. The which clause is underlined. A who which clause is, he explains in the video, and that's the first thing that they're going to be looking for to add to their writing, and that their name is on the paper. So those are the only 3 things that they really have to look at for lesson 1. So it's not very intimidating. It's pretty easy to get started. He explains what a who which clause is. So it's really easy for your kids to add that special, he calls these dress ups, into their writing, and all they have to do is check that off. And as the teacher, all you have to do is make sure that they have all those things when they turn in their writing, and they get credit for that. So that's just lesson 1 of the level 1, but that's kind of how it goes. So for the first at least level A anyways, they're doing quite a bit of that, where they're pulling out keywords from another story, making an outline out of it, and then rewriting that story on their own. Now I just want to kind of show you so you don't think this is too easy of a program, but this is lesson 9, for example. So by the time they get to lesson 9, they're actually working on several paragraphs, pulling out keywords for all of those paragraphs, and then here is the checklist for lesson 9. And as you can see, the checklist is actually quite a bit bigger. So they have an outline due date, and so like on lesson 1, after they've gone through the story, they'll write their outline. And then they have a first draft and a final draft. Since we homeschool, my kids usually just turn in a final draft and we just kind of work on it throughout the week, but you can kind of do whatever. They still have to do the composition double spaced. They also have to mark their dress ups, which are down here, and I'll show you those. Make sure they're marked with an underline, which makes it really easy for me to grade, because if it's not underlined and I can't find it, then they don't get points for it. Make sure the title is underlined, their name is on the paper, and then one of the things, like I said, this is several lessons in, so you'll learn all of this slowly. He adds, one thing at a time, so it's not overwhelming, but the title needs to repeat the keywords of their final sentence. So what he's doing there is teaching them how to make a topic sentence, and then your closing or clincher sentence of that paragraph reflects the information in your topic sentence, and he explains all of that. And then at this point in lesson 9, they have all of these dress ups that they have to add to each paragraph. So they have to write 3 paragraphs, and each one has to have an ly adverb, a who which clause, a strong verb, a quality adjective, and a because clause in it. And so as they're writing, they just have to check off that they had all of those things in all 3 of their paragraphs. And then he also has, so that they aren't like feeling overwhelmed with all of these things, like I said, they're only added one at a time. I just wanted to show you, how the lessons progress. So it's not too overwhelming, but they also have in their student binder a word list in the back, and they add in the lessons, they add several words that are banned words. So for example, in this one, he said you may not use banned words said, see, saw, go, went, or thought. And he doesn't just say you can't use these words. I'll show you the back of one of my kids' notebooks, but they actually pull up they add one word at a time, and under each word they write several different options that they could pull out for those words. So instead of using those words, they go to their little banned word list here, and they have, these ones are typed because this is their second year, but the first year you do this, these are blank, and they actually handwrite in all of the words, and then they can add words as they go if they want. But that way they're not just kind of stuck out in the blue saying, well, I can't say this word, but I have no idea what else to put. They can just flip back here to their chart and look at all these words and see which ones would fit better. So those are verbs banned words list. They also have an adjectives banned words list, and these get built slowly as you go throughout the curriculum. So it's not like a huge list of words out of the blue. They add one word at a time, like with the adjectives, just like they did with the verbs, and it just makes it really easy for them to figure out what words they can use, what words they can't. All right, so the other thing I wanted to show you is in the back, along with the banned words tab that I just showed you, they also have a stylistic techniques tab, and this is the ones where it's their checklist, like I said. So here's the checklist that they have for their writing. They also have previously, before they have to add like a new thing to their checklist, they have come back here and he's done a whole lesson on what that is. What's an ly adverb? What are some ideas of words we can use? And the students together, as they go through the DVD, make up a list of all of these things. So this is the continuation. The first level, they are only doing these 5, I believe. I think they stop after number 5, and then once you go on to continuation, they added verbiable clauses and prepositional openers, ly openers, and this VSS, which my kids think is hilarious, but it's called a very short sentence. And so there's all these different things that they have them add, but like I said, it's never overwhelming. They're adding one new thing each time they're doing a writing assignment, and so they're familiar with everything by the time that they are adding it. And it's never kind of out in the, like where they're having to come up with words just out of the blue. He gives them lists. These are all ly adverbs, and as you can see, it's quite a long list. There's also another adverb list back here that they can use, and they add words to themselves during some of the lessons as well. Here's another adverb list. And then he also has prepositions in there because they have to add, once they get a little bit higher up, they have to add prepositional sentence openers. Like, for example, here's one. Since I love dogs, I got one. Okay, so all of these things are just added to the writing as they go through the lesson. So it's never like, here's a list of 50 things you have to add on lesson 1 and go for it. He explains everything in great detail. He's very thorough in his explanations. Like I said, the lesson plans basically repeat kind of what's on the DVD. He has all of his notes in here for you as well. So if you wanted to do it without the DVD, like if you wanted to watch the DVD, you could. There's also extra writing assignments. So for that first lesson, there's sea snakes. There's also tarantulas and pill bugs that they could write of. And then here's the sample text and sample possible outlines that your kids may pull out of that story if they chose to do that one. So you're never kind of having to struggle with what should they do or what shouldn't they do. It's all really outlined really well in this teacher's manual here. And one thing I want to mention, when I first started this, I thought that it was a little bit odd that they were just rewriting stories that were already written for them, and I was like, when are they going to get to write, you know, their kind of own stories? And that does come later once they've rewritten several different stories, several different types of stories. He goes through fiction, nonfiction, you know, like kind of document, like reporting kind of type of writing. And so once they're familiar with how paragraphs are formatted and all of that kind of thing, then they move into being able to write their own stories. And he even tells you that in the videos, if your kids are doing a little bit more you know, more advanced, if they're ready to move on, they can move on to some of their own. The other thing that they work on are writing stories as opposed to more of a, you know, nonfiction type of thing. And he has it all outlined for them. And again, this is all in the lessons, but he shows them how to line each paragraph up. Their stories are always 3 paragraphs. And for a story, they need to talk about characters, who, when, where type of things. There's usually a problem or conflict, you know, what questions they need to answer for that, and then what the resolution is and what questions they need to answer for that. And so it's all really outlined really well. He does the same thing with teaching them how to do an outline. All right, so I just want to show you one of the stories that my older daughter has written, and we are on level A continuation now. But as you can see, I'm trying to block off her name here, but the title is at the top, her name is underneath. Her document is double spaced, which makes it easy for me to write anything. It also makes it a lot easier to read, and you know, just makes it easier for them to underline things. But as you can see, she's underlining her ly adverbs. She's highlighting her keywords in her topic sentence. She also re-highlights those keywords in her clencher sentence. She's marking on the edges here where she did, I believe those are prepositional openers, ly adverb openers, and this is called a very short sentence, which is one of the other things that they've added in for us at this point. And then as you go through the entire story, it kind of looks like that. So she's got everything highlighted, underlined, and marked, which makes it really easy to grade her paper. And as you can see, this is quite a long story. It's front and back, and I think it's like maybe 8 pages, it looks like. Here's what her outline looks like, and she did her topic sentence, any keywords or thoughts, you know, that she needed to do, and then she just wrote clincher here because she likes to write her sentence at the while she's writing, and that works just fine for her. For my son, I usually have him write things out because he needs a little bit more help organizing things like that. But here's what the outline looks like. So this is after this is, like I said, second year. This is my grading sheet, and I just wanted to show you this really quickly because this makes it so easy for me. She has her checklist right here, and she goes off of this and she marks things as she's writing, so nothing is a surprise to her. If she gets a point off, it's not a surprise to her. She knows that she still has to do composition double spaced, dress ups marked with underline, and these, the double spaced, if you remember, was from the very first lesson that I showed you. And so we kind of have gone from a composition checklist that looks like this, with basically 3 things on there for her to do, to a composition checklist that looks like this with several things. So as you can see, they've slowly added things over the weeks, and actually, like I said, this is the second year of less Group A, and so there's several things that have been added over the course of the year. This isn't just thrown at your kids all at once, but she just checks all these things off so she knows. So for each paragraph, she checks off that she has all of these dress ups, she checks off that she has all of these openers, and then what I do is I have my grading sheet, and it tells me exactly what to check check for too. Did it get turned in on time? Give her 3 points. Was the title center at the top? Give her 1 point. Name under the title, 1 point, etc. And so you just basically read down each of their paragraphs and just check off that they have all those things. It's really easy because she's already underlined and marked everything for me. And then at the end, you add them all up, and whatever points she got, she got. Now on this one, she forgot number 6, VSS, very short sentence, and she also missed a because clause in her 3rd paragraph. And so it's really easy for her. She knows what she's going to get. It's easy for me to grade. I'm not, you know, grading writing can be such an ambiguous thing that it's not difficult anymore. So I really do like this, and I just wanted to show you kind of the progression between the first one and you know, the continuation once they get up into higher grades, that their writing really is improving. And this is my daughter's who loves writing, and her writing has gotten so fun and exciting. I actually really love reading her stories. When we're done with each week, I have them go through and read their stories out loud to everybody. The other thing I have them do before they hand in their sheet is read it out loud to everybody or just one of their siblings, because they read it out loud and inevitably need to make some corrections to sentences that don't sound right and things like that. So this is basically what the curriculum looks like. Like I said, it kind of starts out with you editing a story that's already been written, and you do that for quite a bit of time until you get used to it. Then you move into writing your own stories. This week we are writing stories based on pictures, and so she had to look at, I believe there's pictures in the back of this, yeah. She had to pick some pictures and write a story based off those 3 pictures. So each picture represents 1 paragraph, and I believe she did this cooking one. And they can make up really any information they want, but since they already know how to form a proper paragraph and to pull out keywords and then write sentences from those keywords and then use their checklist of what words they need to add in, it makes the writing process really easy, and it's really helped with my son as well, who, like I said, had a really hard time with writing. So that's basically what it looks like. The other thing I wanted to show you as an option, if you have a student who really dislikes handwriting, and that's maybe what's dissuading them from wanting to write. I also let them choose to type their stories if they would like instead of handwrite them. I figured they do enough handwriting in other areas that I'm more concerned about the content of their story than the fact that they can write it, you know, in nice, neat handwriting. So I think whatever you need to work on with your child, if they need neat handwriting, but that's what's making them not like writing, then I would say do handwriting as a separate subject and let them type it. Typing is a great skill. They're all going to need it in this day and age anyway. So this is one of my daughters, and she puts her title at the top. Her name is right here, and then she goes through and does her paragraphs. Now this is a bad example because she was supposed to have double spaced this, and she didn't, but she does now. She's learned how to do that. But as you can see, she still highlights her words. She still underlines all of her words and numbers, sentences, and things like that. So it's still easy for me to check off, but this is just another option that you can do if you have a student who might not be crazy about writing all of this out and correcting and rewriting and that kind of thing. Alright guys, so that's basically what the IEW curriculum looks like. Now I did want to touch briefly on scheduling because one of my favorite things about the IEW is how flexible it is with your scheduling. So they do provide you with a schedule in the teacher's manual, and you can follow along exactly as their schedule indicates. And they have, of course, extra practice writing, so you can do extra practice where your kids need extra or skip things if they're ready to move on, which is really nice. They also have it like scheduled out where you can spread out one of the curriculum over the course of 2 years, which saves money, and it kind of lessens the amount of time you're doing writing each week, which is kind of a nice break. This year, since my kids are a little bit older, how we're doing is on Tuesday we're watching the video, and then I'm scheduling out their homework for the week, their writing assignment, and then they have all week until the following Tuesday to turn in their completed writing assignment with all of the markups, the dress-ups marked, and then you know, everything like nice and neat and highlighted and all of that kind of stuff. So I let them do that however they want. If they want to wait until Monday night, the following night, and be cramming and trying to finish their writing assignment, that's up to them. If they want to take a break during the week and work on it over the weekend, they can. One of my children does it, just works late on Tuesdays and gets everything done so she has no homework. The other one likes to work in her bedroom in the evenings where it's quiet and she can kind of think, and so she'll usually do a little bit each night and then until she's finished, as long as it's ready by the following Tuesday. I don't care. My son had kind of a hard time with that, and he was cramming on Tuesday or Monday night right before it was due, and so I sat down with him the following week and I just helped him understand how to spread something out. So he doesn't want to do it on Tuesday. He's done with school. He's tired after the video, and so what he does is on Wednesday he'll do the outline for all 3 chapters, and then on Thursday he'll write chapter 1. paragraph 1. On Friday, he'll write paragraph 2, and then on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, somewhere in there, he'll write paragraph 3. But either way, he just likes to break it down into smaller chunks that are a little bit more manageable and not quite so overwhelming for him, which is totally fine. So as long as they are turning their work in on time, that's all I care about. And if you remember on the grading sheet, that is one of the things that they get points for, is to turn their projects in on time. And I figure as they're getting older, they need to be able to learn how to take a project and kind of break it up into manageable pieces and make sure that they can get it done in time, as opposed to just trying to cram and do everything like 2 minutes before it's due. So I'm doing that on purpose for them this year so that they can kind of gain that skill. But like I said, it's super flexible. You can really do it however best works for your family and the ages of your kids and that kind of thing. So that's basically what the IEW writing program looks like. If you have any questions, you're of course welcome to email me. I'll put all of my information below, along with a link to the IEW website, so you can get a hold of this writing curriculum if you're interested. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.